Becoming a mommy, mama, has been the most wild ride of my life. I learned very quickly that there was a lot in this world that I didn't know. As a first-time mom, I thought that I would just listen to what my doctor said and everything would fall into place. I was wrong. I was so excited for baby snuggles and baby toes and that delicious baby smell that I was not prepared for the whirlwind that would come postpartum. After both discharges from the hospital, I was very lost and confused after having staff so readily available. My husband and I were supposed to care for these children with no supervision. I was also very unsure with not seeing my doctor until 6 weeks postpartum. I had seen them so much during my pregnancy. By the time that 6-week appointment came, I was excited, but had no clue where to start. I also wasn't sure what to say in those moments. So I met with my doctor. It was brief, very brief. I was physically checked out. We decided what birth control I was going to start, and I was cleared to go back to work. Both times, I was floored with the focus on contraception. I mean, I get it, but I was thinking not anything about sex at that time. I also was not ready for that transition back to work. I hardly even recognized my body and what all it was experiencing. We were still adjusting to this new chapter of our life, and not much of a routine had been established yet. I had all of this going on in my head, yet I had no clue how to express it. Now, this is not to speak negatively of doctors. This is a standard that's been formed by society and issues within our insurance and medical worlds. The exciting thing is, though, it doesn't have to stay that way. As a society, we need to learn to slow down. We pride ourselves on being hardworking, dedicated, and efficient in this country. But there are times that we need to slow down and care for ourselves in order to be able to be productive in all those other areas of our lives. According to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, only 14% of Americans have access to paid leave. And 40% of Americans don't even qualify for something called the Family and Medical Leave Act. Parental leave has become a hot button topic, but studies and facts show it's a topic worth exploring. When we look at 1 in 4 women return to work just 10 days after giving birth because they have to earn a paycheck in order to care for their family. Or if they stay out the recommended 6 weeks, they may lose their job. Birth seems to be one of a few times in a woman's life where we go through something big physically and emotionally, yet we're expected to act like it didn't happen. An 8.5-inch wound is left by the placenta. 7 layers of a woman's body are cut through during a C-section in order to birth the baby. Wounds like that need time to heal, not just pick up with life as normal. Becoming a parent impacts us mind, body, and spirit. The past 2 years have really highlighted that during COVID as we look at how the isolation of COVID impacted women's pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journeys. Postpartum Support International reports that approximately 15% of women experience postpartum depression, and up to 10% of women will experience depression or anxiety during their pregnancy. Now, movies and shows like to make light of the hormonal changes that come with pregnancy and postpartum. And don't get me wrong, there's some funny moments, like crying over the dishes not being done, and so now, of course, you can't make dinner. Or the realization you have that this baby is gonna have to exit the body somehow. Or those cookies you have been craving all day. Somebody else ate them. But when it crosses over to a mood disorder, the humor is gone. Feeling like a failure, crying all the time, being irritable nonstop. The loneliness, feeling as if your baby and family is better off without you, is scary and overwhelming to experience. Increasing these conversations is vital for women to get the help that they need. It took me 9 months postpartum with my daughter to realize there was a problem. And I'm a therapist. This is an area that I am passionate about, yet I kept it to myself, struggled to ask for help, and didn't realize how big of a problem it was until I got feedback from my husband. I was so thankful for that moment because I was able to get the help that I needed. You know, there's this old saying about it taking a village to raise a child. I'm trying to figure out where the village is that's raising the parents. We need to plan and celebrate for postpartum the same way we plan and celebrate for pregnancy. With both of my children, I was clueless as to how to plan for postpartum. With my son, he was my first. So again, I just thought, hey, baby comes out, everything goes together, right? With my daughter, it was during the height of the pandemic. I didn't know how to plan while the world was shut down around me. During my first postpartum period, people visited frequently, messaged us to check in. Food was brought daily for almost 3 weeks, just to name a few ways we were celebrated. With my daughter, it was our newborn baby, our newly turned 3-year-old, my husband and I, stuck in a house. While I love my family, this was an overwhelming time as I was trying to get to know my newborn, helping our toddler transition, helping my newborn and my husband connect as I was the one breastfeeding, and so main source of comfort during that time. Trying to reconnect with my husband, and you know, it's important to try and figure out myself too during that time. While logically, I understand the lack of involvement because of the pandemic, it doesn't take away from the loneliness and the struggles that we experienced. Now, there were people that were involved as much as they could be, but it was drastically different than the first time. Kimberly Ann Johnson, she's the author of The Fourth Trimester. I think she says it best. Everything a new baby needs, a new mom needs. So you know a new baby needs swaddling. You know a new baby needs a constant food source. You know a new baby needs eye contact, and you know a new baby needs soothing. That's everything a new mom needs. Planning for our postpartum village doesn't just have to include our friends and family circle. We can look to others outside of that for that assistance. Start by taking a birth class with your local hospital or with professionals like labor and delivery doulas, or online with evidence-based birth. These classes will give you an idea of what to expect during birth, as well as during the postpartum period. You can care for yourself physically postpartum by doing yoga and going for a walk, preferably with other people. Work with a pelvic floor physical therapist. Work with a massage therapist. See a nutritionist or acupuncturist. You can care for yourself mentally by hiring a postpartum doula, joining a local mom group, or attending online support groups through organizations like Postpartum Support International. I cannot finish this talk without mentioning how important therapy and potentially medication management can be during this time. Therapy isn't just for when there's a problem. Start seeing somebody while you're pregnant. At the very least, have an appointment set up shortly after birth so you have somebody to talk to. As a therapist, I love when moms come and welcome the babies. It's a nice little oxytocin boost for me during the day. Don't forget to include your partner. Couples therapy can be a real game changer during this time. Now, it's important to note, some of you may not want to have children or are able to have children. And some of you may not have children at the same time as your friends. That's okay. Don't let that stop you from being a part of their support system. You don't have to be a parent to be a resource. There is a lot to becoming a new parent, and it's normal to struggle in the transition. However, you don't have to, nor should you, do it alone. Your village is just as important as your child's village. Thank you.